At the beginning of the 1960s, comic book fans were starting to take notice of the Fantastic Four. Stan Lee's hype and fanfare no doubt contributed to getting people's attention on his and Jack Kirby's new creation. When your comic book is less than a year old, and you're already calling it the world's greatest comic magazine, people will want to know what justifies that kind of claim. Is it for real, or is it just blowing smoke from the Human Torch's flames? People judge heroes by their villains. Great bad guys make great good guys. If the Fantastic Four was really the greatest of all comics, and its title characters were the world's greatest heroes, their archenemy could only be the world's greatest villain. This is the story of the Fantastic Four's first encounter with the character who represented an evil in direct and opposite proportion to their good. This is Forever Fantastic, a video history of the world's greatest comic magazine. The Fantastic Four is the creation of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and a trademark of Marvel Comics and the Walt Disney Company. If you love the Fantastic Four and the classic history of superhero comics, give this video a like. And hit the subscribe button to help the adventures of this channel continue. Dr. Doom, armored, iron-masked figure of ultimate evil. When he first appeared in Fantastic Four number 5, we didn't learn the complete story of the brilliant Romany youth who became the most feared and dangerous man on Earth, because Stan and Jack had not yet put together all the details. What we did learn was that he was a college classmate of Reed Richards, and that he had followed a very different path from the future leader of the Fantastic Four. Doom was the result of Stan and Jack setting out to create a better, badder bad guy. They shrewdly built the character around one central conflict. Victor Von Doom lived with a pathological hatred of Reed Richards. There are certain eternal foes in comic books, characters who are mortal enemies by design, and are capable of remaining mortal enemies forever. Superman and Luthor, Batman and the Joker, Captain America and the Red Skull, Mr. Fantastic and Dr. Doom. The endless clash between Reed and Doom has driven plots in the Fantastic Four for more than 60 years, and become a battle not just between Doom and Reed Richards, but between Doom and the entire team. Time and again, Dr. Doom has tried to wipe the Fantastic Four from the face of the earth. Time and again, the FF have stopped him. As our series progresses, we'll see some of the many evil ways that Doom has struck at Reed and his family. Like many such antagonisms, the one between Reed and Doom goes back to when the two men were younger. In this case, back to their college years. In Fantastic Four number 5, Reed told the others of a student that he once knew in school. Victor Von Doom was not only a young man of science, but also skilled in more esoteric studies, mysticism, and black magic that colleges don't usually teach. One day, a forbidden experiment to contact the netherworld actually blew up in Victor's face, destroying his lab and resulting in Victor being expelled from school. His face scarred by the explosion, Victor fled from the sight of other men. He took to the mountains of Tibet, where he sought out more forbidden knowledge, returning years later to challenge Reed and threaten the Fantastic Four. Jack Kirby had a particular idea about Victor Von Doom's ruined features. According to Jack, the exploding school project left Victor with only one small scar on one side of his face, which Victor's vanity magnified into a horrible disfigurement. Jack once drew a picture of the way he imagined Dr. Doom's face really looked. Stan always wrote the character as if his face were a grisly mass of scar tissue. We'll talk more about this when we learn Doom's complete origin in an upcoming episode. What matters most at the beginning is that because of his vanity and his belief in his own infallibility, Doom could not accept that he was the cause of the accident, and he projected the blame for his ruined face onto Reed. This disagreement about Doom's face is an example of things that would cause trouble in the future. For now, just make a mental note of it. But the difference between Jack's ideas and what Stan put in the script would become a much greater issue a few years along. And so, when Victor Von Doom reappeared in Reed's life, Reed was the leader of the Fantastic Four, while Victor was now a man with the command of super science to match Reed, a vast personal fortune to finance any technological creation he could conceive, and a master of black magic that made him one of Earth's most powerful sorcerers. He was everything that Reed was, and everything that Reed was not. He was now Dr. Doom. But before we go on with the story of how Doom first menaced the FF, we should talk about one other important figure in Fantastic Four history. Note the artwork in Fantastic Four number 5. The pencil work is a fine enough job by Jack Kirby, who made a special effort with the story's introduction of this ambitious new villain. But look at the slick graphic precision in the inking, and the tightness and crispness of the line work and the blacking. This is the work of one of the finest craftsmen in comics, the masterful Joe Sinnott. A World War II veteran like Jack Kirby, Joe was a graduate of the School of Visual Arts in New York City. He joined Marvel during its Atlas period in the 1950s and worked on everything: science fiction and horror comics, war comics, westerns, and crime and romance comics. After many assignments at both Marvel and elsewhere, Joe was selected as the inker for Fantastic Four number 5, and brought to that issue a visual quality surpassing the 4 previous issues. He embellished only a few panels of FF number 6 before moving on to other work, including the intro story for Thor in Journey into Mystery, and some of Thor's earliest adventures. Joe's greatest and most important work was still ahead of him. In future episodes, we'll see how he re-teamed with Jack Kirby, and turned the Fantastic Four into a true graphic masterpiece. Dr. Doom made his presence known to the Fantastic Four by dropping an electric net over the Baxter Building penthouse and demanding that the Invisible Girl come out as his hostage. He then lowered a cage to enclose Sue's partners and brought the FF to a castle that he owned in the Adirondack Mountains. There he commanded Reed, the Torch, and the Thing to enter a time machine of Doom's own design and travel back in time to fetch the treasure chest of Blackbeard the pirate. Why would the vastly wealthy Doom want a pirate's treasure? Because the jewels in Blackbeard's chest were not ordinary gems. They contained mystical powers from Merlin of Camelot and would enable Doom to overthrow the world. This established another important theme that would drive all stories about Dr. Doom going forward: his obsessive love of power above everything else except himself. Over the years, this desire would become one of his defining traits, and readers would see the incredible lengths that Doom would go to and the incredible things he would dare in the name of power. Back in pirate days, our heroes disguised themselves and tried to blend in with the people of that time, only to be drugged and shanghaied onto a pirate ship. Soon the pirate crew learned that they had not taken aboard any ordinary swabs, and soon Reed, Ben, and Johnny were running the ship themselves, just in time for the vessel to come under attack by rival pirates. They defeated the crew of the enemy ship as easily as they conquered the first one. That was when a strange irony struck, and the pirates began to hail the disguised Ben as their leader, Blackbeard. Upon finding Blackbeard's chest, Reed realized they dared not bring the jewels back to Dr. Doom, and dumped out the gems, replacing them with ordinary chains. However, when it came time to return home, Ben, who had found acceptance as Blackbeard, in spite of his monstrous form, didn't want to go. He actually had the pirate crew subdue Reed and Johnny and put them out on a lifeboat. A sudden waterspout sank the ship, and the three heroes were washed up on shore, where a guilty thing regretted turning on his partners. However, they still had the treasure chest, and were ready to return to their own time with it. Learning that Reed and his partners had brought him the chest but not the treasure, Doom went on the attack. The thing tried to smash him, only to discover that the Doom he smashed was only a robot. This was the beginning of one of Doom's trademarks, using perfect robot facsimiles of himself as decoys against his foes, something he has continued to do through the years with increasing sophistication. However, the real Doom had Reed, the Torch, and the Thing trapped in a chamber from which he was draining the air to suffocate them. Then the supposedly hostage Sue cloaked herself and tampered with the control panel, causing Doom's devices to blow up on him. And this was the first instance of a lesson that would be repeated many times. Never underestimate the Invisible Girl. Sue opened the chamber where Reed and the others were trapped, letting air in and saving their lives. Once Sue was untied and the Fantastic Four were reunited, even Doom's moat couldn't stop them from pursuing him. But Doom had one last trick: a rocket-powered flying harness with which he escaped from the Torch, who chased after him. As Johnny's flame weakened, Doom streaked off into the distance, ending the first of many battles with his greatest foes. Dr. Doom is the preeminent evildoer of Marvel Comics, and one of the greatest villains in fiction. His ultimate goals remain constant: to bring the rest of mankind to its knees before him, and to crush Reed Richards and obliterate the Fantastic Four. As our series continues, we'll see him become more complex, and watch his acts of evil grow in magnitude and menace. Doom, like some other tragic figures in literature, has a tragic flaw: his vanity and belief in his own perfection, which is often the cause of his defeat, and a self-inflicted tragic wound. After every defeat, he always returns, more powerful and more dangerous than he was the last time. Dr. Doom's presence in the Marvel cast of characters is so strong that even though he was created specifically to battle the Fantastic Four, every Marvel superhero sooner or later has to deal with him. He is the monarch of evil, the best and the baddest of all the bad guys. This character's shadow reaches outside the medium of comics. When Mark Hamill was starting the role of Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, the first time he saw David Prowse in full costume as Darth Vader, he is supposed to have thought, "Look, it's Dr. Doom." Though they are not the same, and Doom came first by 15 years, they do give off a similar villain vibe. Meanwhile, consider the last panel of Fantastic Four number 5, in which Johnny says, "First Submariner, and now Dr. Doom loose on Earth. What happens next?" The FF would soon learn that when you pose an ominous question like that, the universe may give you an answer. This is Forever Fantastic, a video history of the world's greatest comic magazine. The Fantastic Four is the creation of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and a trademark of Marvel Comics and the Walt Disney Company. If you love the Fantastic Four and the classic history of superhero comics, give this video a like. And hit the subscribe button to help the adventures of this channel continue.